Some people believe that finding the perfect partner is the ultimate goal in life. I used to think that way until a single Saturday morning shattered my entire reality and exposed the woman I loved as a complete stranger. My name is Jordan Carter, and I manage a successful commercial development company in downtown Detroit. I had everything a man could want, including what I believed was a flawless, deeply honest relationship with a beautiful woman named Chloe. My grandfather built our family business from nothing, and my father Arthur helped me expand it into a massive operation. We are a deeply traditional, tight-knit family where Sunday dinners at the family home in Grosse Pointe are completely mandatory. My mother Martha cooks for hours, and my uncle Silas always shows up without an invitation. In our household, wealth is not the priority. Family is the only thing that truly matters to us. I met Chloe at a charity event in Birmingham, and she immediately charmed everyone in the room. She laughed at the terrible jokes my Uncle Silas told and genuinely asked my mother for her secret recipes. My family welcomed her with open arms because she seemed warm, authentic, and completely invested in our world. Within 14 months of dating, I was certain that I had found the genuine woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Early in our relationship, Chloe told me a heartbreaking story about her own upbringing. She claimed that her parents were deeply toxic, controlling, and highly critical people who caused her immense emotional pain. She explained that she had cut off all contact with them years ago and even changed her name on social media to gain freedom. I believed her completely because I had no reason to doubt her quiet sincerity and emotional vulnerability during those quiet evenings. As our wedding approached, the complete silence surrounding her family began to worry my relatives. During a crowded Sunday dinner, Uncle Silas finally put his fork down and asked Chloe where her people were located. The entire room fell silent as Chloe calmly repeated that she had no contact with her mother and father. My family found it incredibly difficult to understand how someone could step into marriage without a single blood relative present to witness it. After Chloe left that evening, my father Arthur pulled me aside in the kitchen to share his concerns. He told me that we were about to make sacred promises in a church without knowing anything about her past. My father explained that even toxic people have an address and a history that cannot be ignored. His words left a lingering sense of deep unease in my mind, though I still fiercely defended the woman I loved against any suspicion. The turning point arrived when our legal team needed Chloe to sign a corporate lease for our new apartment. When I reviewed her state identification card, I discovered her real legal name was Chloe Melissa Miller, not Vance. Out of curiosity, I ran a quick public record search and uncovered a primary address in Saginaw, Michigan. I decided to make the drive north the following Saturday morning without telling her my true destination or my growing anxiety. I expected to find a grand, intimidating estate filled with wealthy, judgmental people who would look down on my background. Instead, the GPS guided me to a modest ranch house with a well-kept garden and wine chimes on the front porch. An older man in a baseball shirt was watering the lawn with peaceful patience. I realized immediately that these were ordinary, hard-working individuals, which made my heart race with a strange, confusing new anxiety. I stepped out of my vehicle and introduced myself to the gentleman as the man engaged to his daughter. The man, whose name was Harold Miller, dropped his garden hose in utter shock and called his wife Brenda outside. As we sat in their clean kitchen surrounded by childhood photos of Chloe, the real story began to emerge. These were not abusive monsters. They were heartbroken parents who desperately missed their only daughter for 2 long years. Harold and Brenda had sacrificed everything to put Chloe through college, but she began distancing herself as she entered high society. The final break occurred when Chloe demanded $100,000 for our wedding, and they could only offer $15,000. She told them they were dead to her and blocked them completely that very night. Brenda even showed me an unopened birthday card that Chloe had returned to sender just a few weeks prior to today. While sitting at their kitchen table, my phone buzzed with a fresh text message from Chloe. She wrote that her parents had suddenly apologized and wanted to meet us for a lavish lunch the next day. I showed the message to Harold and Brenda, who stared at the screen in absolute silence. I realized that Chloe was hiring actors or using wealthy superiors, specifically her elite boss Thomas Vance, to play the role of her parents. I drove back to Detroit in total silence, processing the massive scale of the deception Chloe had constructed. I realized she was so ashamed of her humble origins that she was willing to completely erase her own blood. She wanted to present a polished, high society image to me and my family, even if it meant inventing entirely fake parents for our wedding day. The realization made me feel sick to my stomach as I pulled into our garage. I returned home and waited until the scheduled lunch the following afternoon at a high-end restaurant. Chloe arrived looking radiant, accompanied by her wealthy boss Thomas Vance and his elegant wife Eleanor, whom she introduced as her parents. I let them finish their elaborate introductions before I calmly laid the returned birthday card from Saginaw on the table. Chloe turned completely pale as the entire web of deception collapsed right in front of her wealthy corporate mentors. The false parents looked at the card and realized they had been used in a twisted game, immediately excusing themselves from the table. Chloe attempted to spin another lie, sobbing and claiming she only did it because she wanted to be good enough for my family. I told her that my family values honesty above all else, and that she had destroyed our future over pride. I walked out of the restaurant alone, leaving her with the wreckage of her illusions. The wedding was called off immediately, and I chose to cut ties with a woman who valued status over human decency. I learned that the most dangerous deceivers are not cold or distant, they are warm, charming, and utterly convincing. True family is built on honesty, sacrifice, and the willingness to embrace where you come from. I am grateful that I discovered the truth before building a life on a foundation of absolute vapor and lies.